Well, I think it begins with being bold. This world today is so unpredictable and moving so fast. Baby steps don't work.
Welcome back to WD Magiccast for the week of November 20th, 2022. This is episode 204. WD Magiccast, the show about the mouse, the Marvels, the galaxy, and beyond. I'm your host, Matthew Gracontalks. In this week's show, in an emergency session, Isaac and I sit down and discuss, in brief, the implications of the news to come from this weekend of Bob Chapek and Bob Iger. If you don't know what we're talking about, stay tuned and you'll find out. And on that bombshell, I have poll results. Speaking of which, here's a little spoiler. What are your thoughts of Iger's return and Chapek's exit? This was on the Twitter. Option 1, it's magical. Other option, stunned in a good way. Next, unsure, and finally, disappointed. You guys voted, and the results are in. 20% of you said it's magical, and 80% of you said stunned in a good way. And again, not fully sure what's going on. Stay tuned. And also, I want to bring up at the beginning of the show, because sometimes I feel maybe it gets lost at the end, that the apparel shop, our TeePublic store, is having up to a 40% sale through November 30th. The holidays are right around the corner. What would be better to cozy up in a nice, warm WD Magiccast hoodie, t-shirt, have a nice cup of coffee or hot cocoa in your WD Magiccast mug, or give them as gifts. Nothing says love more than a WD Magiccast t-shirt, hoodie, jacket, mug, sticker, throw pillow. We have a bunch of things. Check it out. Like I said, sale up to 40% off. Best sales of the year. Going on now through November 30th. Act now before the sale's over. Links are in the show notes and on our website, www.wdmagiccast.com. And on that bombshell, we'll be back after these words from our friends and sponsors.
Hi Disney Marvels fans, my name's Tash and my BFF Mercedes and I make a weekly podcast dedicated to all things Disney. From music, movies and food and parks to fun weekly challenges, we discuss it all over at Chat Disney. You can find us on Instagram at Chat Disney or Twitter at Chat Disney UK. We release weekly episodes every Monday morning, which can be found on Spotify and the Apple Podcast app. Bye for now.
And now, on with the show. It never fails. It never fails. Best laid plans, and things happen anyway. What am I talking about? You've heard me say this all the time about how I love having a Disney show because there's always news from Disney. And I apologize, my voice is doing better, but it's still not 100%. So there's always news from Disney. And because my voice is 100%, I had to bring in my other voice, my voice of reason and logic, Isaac Segoo, to talk about the latest in Disney news. Isaac, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, and what a shocking move from Disney. Pretty much. For ladies and gentlemen, and for people that haven't heard, Mr. Bob Iger will be returning as CEO to the company. Was unfortunately due to, I guess, the performance of Bob Chapek, and that actually started as immediately once that news broke out.
Yeah, we're recording this on Monday, November 21st. This took place Sunday night, the 20th of November, 2022, depending on when you're listening to this episode, that the Disney board announced that they had spoken to Mr. Chapek. They thank you for his time, because he had actually been with Disney for quite some time.
Yes.
For his time with the company and everything he had done. And his services will no longer be needed. And apparently this is something they reached out to Bob Iger apparently on Friday, from what I'm hearing. And more stuff of this is going to be trickling out as time goes on. But Friday, the board has started reaching out and sending out feelers to Bob Iger and say, how would you mind coming back with stipulations? Apparently, someone came up with stipulations. The board agreed upon stipulations, and Iger agreed. And as a response, the stock was already going up.
Yeah, especially with the Dow Jones. Unfortunately, this is a Disney podcast, but we're going to talk a little bit business with it in this side of things. Yeah, it bounces around. I think I jumped up 9 points after closing on the bell. So, good news for the shareholders involved. But you know what? To kind of get your start off, when you heard this news, what was kind of the first thing that came to your mind once you heard this news broke?
The exact words that crossed my mind I cannot say on this show, but it was to be honest, disbelief. It's unprecedented that I'm aware of for something like this to happen in this manner, this quickly, in this way. Particularly, I know Disney's had its time with, in some rocky times, especially in the 80s, with Miller being forced out and the potential buyout, and then bringing in Michael Eisner in that whole situation. That was that was something on Disney history to begin with. This is almost as crazy, but in a shorter period of time. I disbelief. And in all fairness, I recognize the humanity of it for Chapek. Whether he made the right decisions or not, and whatever people think of him as a business leader, he is a human. He has a family. He's got bills to pay like everybody else. And I am sure he will land on his feet somewhere. He will find a job and you'll be okay. But at the same time, right before the holidays, to lose your job is not easy for anybody in whatever your position is. So I do feel bad for for Bob Chapek and his family. But I wish him the best of luck. I am sure that he was given a little package or something. I'm sure there was some language in the contract, some sort of severance pay or something. So, but at the same time, I'm happy to see Iger come back in. He has earned our trust. What is he going to be able to do in the 2 years that the board is giving him? And they say that this is a fixed 2 years thing, that he has to get this stuff figured out in 2 years and groom a successor, and all that in 2 years. That's a lot to do in 2 years.
I agree. I totally kind of agree on that. I don't know what they're going to expect, because remember when, again, you have to remember Iger did put Chapek in power, and hopefully for that transition, and remember the same ideas that were explored, like the growth. Mostly the focus on Disney, on the streaming service, was the number one key was the primary objective. and both of them kind of have the same ideas. So, with Iger kind of coming in, you don't know exactly, like, I guess in retrospect, it's more of a symbolic move to kind of reinsure shareholders and to kind of bring back a happier, familiar face that was more personable versus, I guess, Chapek's style that was very more business and driven oriented. Even if that were to be the case, the same issues still kind of lie, and it's focused on that service and how you're going to grow the numbers, because let's be honest, at the moment right now, the numbers have kind of started to taper off, and right now the service as the moment isn't producing, I guess, the money they were thought they were going to get back as soon between all its original content. So yeah, kind of going back to what you're saying, exactly what does it seems like it just seems like right now Disney is directionless, even if Bob Iger comes into power again. Because again, it still seems like the same mission still stands, and it
Right.
still
Well,
focuses on streaming.
he is back in power. Um, I mean it was effective immediately. So he's
Yeah,
the guy now. Um,
and he, like you said, he has to find another successor within 2 years, while trying to fix all the problems right now that are happening in Disney.
yeah, and from what I read, there was internal people that they looked at, but no one that they felt strong enough considering the situation that they want to put.
Yeah.
And that's the smart thing to do. You have a volatile situation, things aren't going in the right direction. Why throw someone green at it? Let's pull in someone that has a lot of experience, knows the company, has years of experience with the company,
Hmm.
and has a successful record with the company. The I guess the main thing at this time that they're concerned about is that Chapek did not seem to have much of a vision. It was more, the stock was down, earnings were down, and what do you what do you plan to do? And his immediate response was freezing hiring and job cuts.
Yeah, which I've heard that a lot of people at Disney were strongly against. So yeah.
Right. They were against that, and they were there's got to be more than just that. That
Yeah.
cannot be your only option. If there's issues with elements of the company, it's it
Mhm.
again it was cutting jobs where jobs need to be, freezing job hiring. Your parks are still understaffed, so your freezing jobs isn't going to help out there, but you're knocking up the prices for everything at the parks because that's where you're making the money. And for the longest time, that's Disney's main source of income has been the parks. So drastically increasing the pricing, and that's something that was a lot of people felt indicative of not Iger, of Chapek, was it was nickel and diming the parks
Dry.
to a crazy degree. Um, and I'm not saying I'm not absolving Iger of never increasing ticket pricing and stuff. He increased ticket pricing, but you usually either got something in return or it was within a period of time. Where Chapek had been doing it a lot more frequently, and you weren't getting much in return. Yes, there was a pandemic. There's been a whole bunch of other things to go coincide with that, but I could tell you this, that on the park side of things, in Walt Disney World, so you have in the next year, in the next 12 months opening up, you have the Moana Journey of Water, which is a walkthrough experience in Epcot. You have the Tron light cycle run in the Magic Kingdom opening up. And then you have the retheming of Splash Mountain to Tiana's Bayou. That's it. There is nothing else in the works that has been announced.
Can I also ask another question too, since you're talking about the parks? How was you recently went on a trip. How was the quality of the parks in terms of, because I feel like we had talked about a lot of, I don't know if we've talked about this on the podcast. We maybe talked about the side about Chapek running the parks, and I knew um, you were a little bit indifferent on Chapek's role when it came to understanding of the parks. How were the quality of the parks when you went there in terms of maintenance, in terms of cleanness, in terms of quality? I know the thing when it comes to Disney, I know Disney is known for to be as almost pristine when it comes to giving an overall great family experience in terms of presentation. What were your thoughts on that?
Um, in all honesty, the parks were clean. Parks were clean. The exterior looked good, but I looked at a few things that caught me a little off guard. Literally, I was walking down Main Street, USA, in the Magic Kingdom, and noticed that chunks of the asphalt was all broken away and just kind of like just like chunks of it broken off, and um, not as I don't ever remember seeing that. Now maybe that was just something I noticed this time and never noticed before, but yeah, the road was broken and in need of repair. So that I was a little surprised at. Um, but other than that, they were clean. Now, that's not to say that I've been hearing issues about rides going down and a lot of downtime on rides. Some of that I did experience down there. It didn't affect me directly per se, or if it did, it was usually outside factors, like Seven Doors Mine Train wasn't running because there was a thunderstorm in the area. That has nothing to do with Seven Doors Mine Train not being maintained or up in good condition. It was more due to the fact of there was a thunderstorm. Obviously, you can't run it then because it's an outside attraction. Tower of Terror, though, was down the entire time I was at the studios. That was a maintenance issue. So that's a whole separate ordeal. Splash Mountain, there's parts of that were, lights were out, animatronics weren't necessarily working to their full extent. I can understand that because you're shutting it down in a few months' time. Why are you going to spend thousands of dollars on something that you're going to rip apart to upkeep that? Not that I agree with it, but from a logistic standpoint, I get that. But all in all, everyone I talked to was upbeat. Everyone was pleasant, happy, nice. It said everything seemed to be the way it should be, more or less.
Okay, cool. And because like the only reason why I bring that up in terms of, because you felt like, again, from what I've hearing about the quality of the parks, and maybe that could have been tied a little bit to Chapek running the ordeal at the same time. You're hearing prices going slightly up. Like you said, prices, it's going to happen due to a little bit of inflation. Prices will tend to go up, but not from the nickel and diamond approach that you've been seeing lately coming from the parks. And I think that does play a little bit into how Chapek's been running it as just a typical normal, I guess, CEO in sorts.
Yeah. It's like they just raised the prices for the annual passes, and most of the annual passes aren't on sale. And they ranged anywhere from $50 to $100 increase.
Yeah, that like a 50% increase.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous at the moment. So, but with all that being said, no, it's a very interesting big move that's made from Iger, bringing Iger back. I just don't know exactly what changes within the next 2 years with everything that's kind of happened at the moment. I don't know exactly what to expect. At the end of the day, it seems like more of like a symbolic move to kind of reinsure the shareholders that you're getting a familiar voice that everybody liked versus what Chapek brought, which maybe was a little bit more outside in terms of the people that he's worked with.
Well,
I know.
two
Um,
things I want to put in there is one, Iger was more a creatives guy. He's always wanted the creatives to be creative and do their thing,
oh
and
yeah,
he didn't get in their way. Where Chapek wasn't so much. Chapek was always a numbers guy, and
he's analytical.
yeah, he likes his spreadsheets. He likes his number of facts, and he wants all of the black and white and see where everything's at. So if, it costs money. He wants the explanation and everything like that. Where Iger was more the visionary, and that's what they're looking for, I believe, is the visionary. Like I said, when the stocks tanked and they turned to Chapek for leadership, he didn't have a vision, and I think that's what really sent. In addition to stuff that he's done in his short tenure.
Oh yeah, because we have to give we do have to give Chapek a little bit of credit of helping guide Disney out of the pandemic situation.
Right.
Because remember he was put in power February 2020 right when the pandemic happened. So in a
But at the
sense, he
same
did
time,
guide them through a distant part of the he did help guide Disney during that time.
right.
Mind you, even when that happened, that still doesn't really excuse a lot of the chaos that was happening behind the scenes between the shifts of power, between the removal of certain executives to kind of bring in his own board. So
Well, and not
that
just that, Iger kind of delayed his leaving, and they were kind of one was CEO, one was president, or something like that during that time frame. So
which
there
you have
was
to they were not for and which got in which if from the story they were really cool and now they were not with all
yeah.
that. I guess because Chapek was like didn't want Iger under his nose throughout that
You
entire
wanted to
time.
they run things his way, and it was a
Exactly.
very different way than what Iger ran it. Um, and then there was the whole Scarlett Johansson thing and some other
Right.
things that he said. This is the guy who also just recently said that, well, adults don't see Disney movies.
Not only that too, like, and going back to what you said about not having a clear direction, when he did it, not only worse than that, when he did have a direction, he would kind of pull back. For a great example, there were supposed to be 2,000 employees moving from California to Florida's base, and they ended up pushing that delay back to 2026, which, if you're a parent right now in California, the logistics, trying to find schooling for your family, trying to figure out the moving situation, trying to sell things, that must be a nightmare for those workers right now. So
Well, a
the
lot of
fact that
them
he
pushed
knows
back
stuff,
on
that's
him.
not great.
The
Oh yeah.
workers pushed back and said that they didn't want to move, they weren't moving, and he caved. So, but it wasn't. He just caved on him, and he wasn't. Let me try to work it out with you. It wasn't. It's a very murky situation. Again,
Yeah.
like we keep going back, it's a lack of vision, a
I
lack
think it's
of direction.
a lack of direction. And I know another one, political wise about a whole situation of the gay stance right now that's happening in
Hmm.
Florida. His inability to kind of make a firm stance against it, a more progressive stance against that, which I know was a big issue for a lot of Florida employees and people that worked under the Disney brand as well. I know that was one of the bigger issues. That was one of the things that bothered a lot of people. With that being said, again, was Iger coming back, like I said, it was 2 years. I again, I don't I think it's a lot. I think shareholders are just hoping that things look better because, again, both of them kind of were still on the same path in terms of what quote unquote what's the mission right now in terms of how can we expand on the parks, how can we work with how can we increase our viewership on the streaming service. And right now, it feels like those haven't really changed. And also, let's remind you, the shareholders did reelect him for Chapek to run till 2025.
Right,
So
they gave him a 3-year extension,
and they're
but
paying
that was the
20.
shortest
Yeah,
extension that they ever gave it to a sitting CEO.
correct. But they still gave the extension, even though all that stuff was happening during that time. And they're gonna still pay him what, like around 23 million to fill out the rest of the contract to 2025. So I mean, you were having those problems with Chapek's leadership during that time. Why would you approve on the extension? Is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, and I wondered that myself. I guess they just felt, as a courtesy because of everything going on, we'll give you a little bit of extension. Again, the shortest extension that they ever offered as a sitting CEO at Disney. But yeah,
Disney,
and then I think but also what's happened since June to yesterday, where any interviews or things that he's been on, has been just more stuff that they're trying to sweep under the carpet and just painting the company in a bad light. And I think they just finally said, you know what, enough's enough. How much more can this guy do to this company? Going around saying that our products aren't for our animated products are not for adults who make up a huge segment of our income, alienating customers, pricing out customers, guests. It's just, I think the board had enough at that point.
Yeah, yeah. Again, a shocking move that happened, and we'll see exactly what comes with it within the next 2 years. And again, one would have to hope that Iger would have to once again find another successor, because again, I don't think Iger wants to be in this position for too long. I think
He's
that's
71. I mean, how much longer?
I think it's a lot of pressure for a 71-year man to change the hopes of Disney at this point. Eventually, Disney kind of would have to stand on its own 2 feet right now, and try to figure out what's the next step for the company moving forward. But we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. I mean, he's only been out of the job now, away from the company. I rephrase that better. He's been away from the company for 11 months. So it's been a long 11 months, but it's not like it's been multiple years. It hasn't even been a full calendar year yet. And I mean, he knows the company, and I think, he's always been closely tuned to what's going on. I think this is something that it's a challenge that he's willing to take on, and let's hope the second time's the charm.
Let's hope.
Yep. All right. Well, just a quick episode. Just wanted to go over these topics quickly, and we shall see from there. Other than that, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving. Everybody that's going on traveling soon, stay safe, be healthy, and enjoy it with your loved ones.
Yep. Same. And you too, Isaac.
Thank you, man.
Thank you for listening again, everyone. I'm sorry it was such a short episode. Isaac and I had places to go, things to do, but we wanted to make sure this was a very important topic. We want to discuss it with you, and we want to hear from you. What is your thoughts of this drastic and almost unprecedented change to the head of the Disney company? let us know. Join us on the social. Our Facebook group is facebook.com/WDMagicCast. On Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, we're at WDMagicCast. Be sure to also subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can find us at WDMagicCast as well. Episodes and some other fun things are up there that I've posted. You can also leave us a voice messages of your thoughts through the Anchor app or Anchor.fm website, or record a message electronically on your computer, tablet, phone, whatever device you have, and email it to email@wdmagiccast.com. Also, if you have any questions or suggestions for the show, or just about Disney in general, please send it to us either through our social or to the email address email@wdmagiccast.com. And be sure to check out our website, where the links to all these can be found as well as in the show notes. Our website is www.wdmagiccast.com. I want to thank you for your time. I know how little time we all have, especially this holiday season. Everything's going crazy, whole bunch of going on. Turkeys are being cooked if you're in the United States. A lot of stuff happening. And the fact that we get to spend some time together, as I always say, makes me feel truly blessed. We really appreciate it, all of us over here at WD Magiccast. This Thanksgiving season, we are thankful for our friends, our family, and for you, our listeners, who come back every week. Thank you so much. Truly, we mean it. As I'd say, please share out. Let other people know about the WD Magiccast, because it just helps the family keep growing. And the bigger the family, the more we can do, the better the show can be. And we need your help. Please tell other people, share out links on social network, or also go on to Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or Spotify actually, and leave us a rating. We have an all 5-star review on both of them at the moment. Keep it coming. I can't believe that over 200 episodes and we still have an all 5-star review. Keep them coming. The more that we get, the more that they will do to also help promote our show. And like I said, Walt believed in a big Disney family, and so do I. Thank you again for everything you do. I truly, truly appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe to the show while you're at it. This way you always know when new episodes are posted. And while you're at it, consider becoming a premium subscriber. Really help the show out. You can do this over at anchor.fm/WDMagicCast/support. You can also check out our merchandise shop that I mentioned at the top of the show for some fun WD Magiccast stuff on sale now. Perfect time for the holidays. Makes great gifts. Or get yourself a gift. They were great. I wore them around the parks. A lot of people complimented us on the shirts. They look great. They feel great. They wear great. They wash great. They hold up. High quality stuff. And like I said, it's all on sale, up to 40% off now. Take advantage of it while you can. You can find links to all these in the show notes as well, because remember, this show is brought to you by listeners like you. I know everyone else may be celebrating, and maybe you don't feel like it. Maybe it's not where you feel you belong, and you don't feel like celebrating, and that's okay. That's okay. Things may not always be as bright or happy for you. But trust me, there will be light at the end of the tunnel. I know it's easy for me to say, but don't give up. You are special. You are wonderful. You are who you're supposed to be. And if you need help, do not be afraid to ask. Sometimes help comes in the form of a stranger. It's not always easy getting it from your loved ones, but sometimes a stranger is what you need. There's someone out there who'll be willing to help you. Never give up, never give in. Be your own hero, and let your light shine for all to see, because you are special, wonderful, and loved. Now I'd like to end this week's show with a quote from Walt Disney himself. And I thought this one was quite appropriate considering the topic. You may not realize it when it happens, but a kick in the teeth may be the best thing in the world for you. Again, that's Walt Disney. Thank you again for listening, everyone, And I'll see you next time. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone in the United States. And those not in the United States, be thankful for everything you have.